The year is 20XX, and after a failed attempt by an American-made giant robot to stop Godzilla, Japan turns to the most intelligent minds on the planet to come up with a weapon to defeat Godzilla once and for all. Their first prototype, the armored assault ship Garuda, proved to not be powerful enough to take down the king of monsters by itself. So, they turned to the remains of a cybernetic monster from the future. Mecha King Ghidorah. This beast was salvaged from the bottom of the ocean, and most of its advanced technology went into building the ultimate super weapon to fight against Godzilla. The Garuda was also upgraded so that it could combine with this new super weapon to create the ultimate anti-Godzilla weapon system, Super Mechagodzilla. Hello everybody and welcome to the GKaiser Age, and this is Lucian GKaiser. Today we're going to be taking a look at Bandai Tamashii Nation's S.H.Monsterarts Super Mechagodzilla. This is an awesome figure that I picked up off of the Big Bad Toy Store. Definitely a great place if you want to pick up some more S.H.Monsterarts figures. They still had this guy on sale the last time I checked, and they had him on sale for 10% off of his normal price, which was originally $110. So definitely, if you're looking to pick him up, definitely go by their store. It's a great place to pick up anime figures and of course all kinds of other figures as well. But let's go ahead and get started looking at Super Mechagodzilla by looking at Mechagodzilla himself. Now, this is a reissue of the original Mechagodzilla figure. Now, when this guy came out, and he's based off of the 1993, if I remember right, Mechagodzilla films, Godzilla vs. Super Mechagodzilla 2. The year might be wrong, because I know in the movie they quote the year being 1992, but still, it is a fantastic replica of that Mechagodzilla from that movie. This one version comes with a nice metallic sheen on it, as you can see. But actually, most of the figure is actually just plastic, which was a little bit disappointing. I was actually expecting some nice die-cast heft to it. Now, it does have die-cast in the feet here, right here, and at the bottom of the foot here as well. So you do have some nice weight to keep the figure nice and planted on the ground. But the other disappointing thing versus the original one, though, is the fact that the original came with effects parts. So that way you can have him, like, you know, shooting his rainbow energy breath. He also had the shock anchors and an effect part for, of course, the Buster weapon that is mounted in his belly area here. So unfortunately, it doesn't come with any of those accessories, which is kind of sad because it still has the ports on the arm for the G-Crusher. Probably the most iconic weapon that it used in that movie, because it was literally the weapon that nearly killed Godzilla. So now, we're going to go ahead and take a closer look at some of the details. So as you can see, the eyes are really, really well done. They have that nice graded effect on them that makes it look just like out of the movie. The mouth can of course open up, and you can see the of course energy breath arrays in there. The head posability is very nice. You've got a nice complete 360. It can extend up as part of one of the gimmicks we're going to show off. Extend down, so you get a nice range of motion with the head. The arms have a great range of motion as well. They bend out, bend up that much. No double joint, but that's all right because character in the movie didn't have much movement either. It's pretty stiff Mechagodzilla. Not one of the more mobile ones like the newer Mechagodzilla from the newer Millennium series. And of course the hands are on ball joints. Now these ball joints also have a nice area on them so that way you can kind of pose it different ways. And it swivels around different angles and everything like that. You just have to move the ball joint around. So if you want to get a different angle with the hand, you just take the hand off, move the ball joint around, and that way you can get a different bending angle. The belly allows for a decent crunch and some decent back lift, and you can see what was normally the flexible suit that the actor would be wearing inside this suit in there, so it helps to cover the gaps, but not too bad. You got a nice waist rotation, not too huge, but considering the rotation of the head, you can get him to look for some really great angles. That gimmick right there, which we'll go over later. And then with the legs have a nice rotation. You can do like 360 with it. They have a piece in here which helps to cover up the mechanics. And you can hear the die cast in that foot because the bottom part of the leg here too is also die cast and locks into place. But the bend at the knee is not huge. It's kind of disappointing a little bit. But like I said, it was not exactly the most mobile Mechagodzilla that they ever created on film. Now, here's the tricky part. Unfortunately, because of the fact that the foot weighs so much, it makes the legs kind of wobbly. Just kind of disappointing. But for some reason, it still can hold some decent poses. Even though the legs are a little bit wobbly, it just takes a little finagling to get them in kind of the right position. Now, another part that's really stiff, and you can see the bend of the foot. You got a nice toe bend there. But the other part that's really stiff is the socket and the ball joint for the foot. You can rotate it and angle the foot, but you really have to like push really hard to do it, and I am afraid to push too hard because I do not want $100 in shipping and everything to go down the drain. So I'm going to be a little bit careful, but that can make it kind of tricky to pose him. So when you're trying to get his feet to be flat on the ground, it can be a little bit difficult to do so because of those feet and the angle of course, those ankles. So we'll go ahead and take a look and see here. Let's angle this down. So you can see you can get some decent poses out of them, but keeping those feet and legs where you want them to can be kind of difficult at some points. He likes to shift around a lot. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the tail. The tail is fairly disappointing too. There's really just a small bend and a couple of joints here. It can't really bend side to side by much of anything. And it's mainly meant to bend like this just for the other gimmick that I'll show in just a minute here. But you can still see it's got some nice detailing. Some aggressive panel lining, but there's a reason for that as well. Alright, so now let's go ahead and talk about that gimmick that I was describing. So of course in the movie, Mechagodzilla has a flight mode without the Garuda. Now it comes with a spare pair of hands that you can use for the flight mode style hands, or if you just want to make it look like he's giving Godzilla a karate chop or just trying to stab him with the hands, we'll put these on. there, and there. Alright, now that we got those hands on, pretty much all you do, put his arms to the side like that. Now, like I said, the head has a very unique gimmick for the flight mode, where it basically tucks in like that. And then of course with the legs, move those up. I probably should mention it. These open holes here and here and here and here are supposed to be thrusters, but of course there's no detailing in them, and that's kind of disappointing too. So we're gonna put those up like that, and then essentially the only other thing that you do is the feet. They just angle. Get that angle on this feet. It can be a little bit difficult because of, once again, how stiff they are, but essentially that is pretty much it, and it is not very impressive, and his legs do not want to stay in position, so kind of goofy. It looked goofy in the movie, and the figure makes it just look as goofy figure wise. So yeah, not really much to that mode really. I don't know why they felt that was all that important to replicate, especially since he doesn't come with an adapter, and the weight of the feet of the figure and just the weight of the figure itself make it hard that you could not really mount it on like any kind of action stand that I know of. I'll probably look and see if I can find one that might be able to mount it, but let's go ahead and get him back into regular let's go beat up a Godzilla mode. And switch the hands back. I mean, it is definitely a great detailed figure, but I just don't feel like I got $110 worth of money out of it. It's not terrible. It looks great posed, and it definitely looks great, you know, next to another an actual Godzilla, but otherwise the posability just doesn't really make it all that fun to actually handle and maneuver. So let's go ahead and look at the next gimmick. So what we're going to do is gently, I do mean gently, pop off the top part of the body. So, there it is. Just pop off the back so I can get to, there we go. Alright, that makes it a little bit easier. Don't have to pop off the back, but I found that that seems to make it a little bit easier. And then you have this cover plate right here for his belly. That is essentially for his super weapon. And if you get your fingers underneath there, you just pull that part off and then replace it with this one. There we go. Put his main body back on. And the back plate back on there. And there we go. And this was the super weapon from the movie. Definitely replicates that fairly well. The mechanical detail, it's kind of lacking compared to the movie version of it. But still, it's definitely very good looking. And so, this weapon is what they call the plasma grenade launcher. Essentially what happens is, as Godzilla shoots his radioactive breath at the Mechagodzilla here, it actually has a special diamond coating on the body, along with a special energy channeling system that not only dissipates his beam but uses the heat and energy from it to gather it into the plasma grenade launcher and then launch it back amplified several times over to cause massive damage to Godzilla. It's actually one of the few weapons in the Godzilla history of weapons that's actually stunned, stopped, and definitely hurt him from the impact of it. The only downside is that they find out that it generates so much heat that even with all the heat sinks and cooling that Mechagodzilla has, it's not enough to keep him, for using it several times over. And that is where the Garuda comes in. So this is going to be real quick. Garuda is essentially the first weapons platform that they tried to create to fight Godzilla, but obviously it was not enough. It was just another Super X style weapon. And the detail on this is really awesome. I really love how they did the crystalline amplifiers on the beam cannons here. And the detail on the ship itself. Now, these thrusters on the back, when I first got mine, and I'd seen some reviews about where people claim these were actually bent out of shape, and mine were bent out of shape, but that's because they're actually on a ball joint. Now, the important thing is you have to be really careful. They're really stiff, so you have to be kind of careful when you're first moving them to just kind of wiggle it a little bit until it feels a little bit loose, and then give it a nice gentle shove, and then they'll start moving around and they'll stay firm. I haven't had any of them fall off or act loose or anything like that. They stay pretty much in place wherever I position them, so it's very cool. Alright, but let's go ahead and get to the gimmick with this guy, because obviously they redesigned this so that way it can combine with Mechagodzilla. So we're going to move him back into the docking bay there. Now, you also get a display stand for the Garuda. Don't get one for Mechagodzilla in flight mode, but okay. Enough complaining about that. So you get a display stand. Even if you don't want to use it, I'm most likely going to just keep him in Super Mechagodzilla mode, because that's just the coolest looking mode for him. So this display stand will probably go for another figure, but it's nice that they included it at least. And we're going to go ahead and configure this. So little parts forming, you have to pull these parts off, and then you have to pull this part off. Put those to the side. You also get this part for the back of Mechagodzilla for the connectors. And now you take these two pieces that connect into these little peg ports here. So that one, and then this one. Alright, and now he is in docking mode. So next we're going to take that back piece back off of Mechagodzilla, replace it with this back piece. Now, on the Garuda, we're going to slide the cockpit back into the locked position. These cannons slide down. And yeah, that's another problem I have. The cannon tops right here, they are a little bit loose, so they tend to separate by themselves a little bit. So you got to kind of push them into place when you rotate the cannons down. Yeah, there's a few. I'm not sure if it's quality control on this or if it's just bad design, but there are a few little loose areas like that. But once you have it all together, you have Super Mechagodzilla. And with the Garuda attached, he now has an extra cooling system so he can use the plasma grenade launcher more often. He also has extra firepower, and with the thrusters of the Garuda, he gets a lot more maneuverability, allowing him to take on his rival Godzilla. And in the movie, I'm not going to spoil it, but let's just say Super Mechagodzilla is one of the few Mechagodzillas to get Godzilla to a point that few other creatures and few other techniques and strategies and weapons have ever gotten him to. So again, this is a decent figure. If you can find it for a good price on sale, I definitely recommend picking it up. But otherwise, it's kind of disappointing in the posability, kind of disappointing in some of the looseness of the joints, and the fact that majority of it isn't die cast. For $100, that seems kind of a bit much. I got my Godzilla right here on sale, but I got him even with it being on sale. I only spent about $70 for him. And he's got a lot more detail, he's got a lot more posability, flexibility with his tail, just a lot more going on. And another disappointing part, once again, is just the lack of effect parts. There are effect parts that you can find out there, but they were like one-off runs, so, you know, good luck, you know, because you'll end up spending like over, you know, $100 or more to get them. But still, it's definitely a great figure. I'm glad I definitely got it and that it's in my collection. It looks great next to this Godzilla. It'll look better when I get the Godzilla from the actual movie that goes with him. But for right now, it's definitely making me want to get my Kiryu Mechagodzilla 3 from the, of course, Millennium series a lot sooner, because that figure looks fantastic. I've heard a lot of great things about the original run of it, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting that soon as it gets released within the next month. But again, this is Lucien GKaiser from the GKaiser Age. If you guys like what you see here, definitely like, favorite, and leave a comment about your favorite part from this Godzilla or this Godzilla movie in general, or any of the other Godzilla movies with a Mechagodzilla in it that you love. Again, make sure you drop a like and subscribe on my channel if you want to see more content like this. I do everything about anime, gaming, and entertainment media here, the Age series as I like to call it. And once again, this is Lucien GKaiser from the G-Force, signing out until the next Godzilla battle.